In this tutorial, we will continue from the previous example we created in the XUI tutorial. We will take the units converter and implement it in before A, before I, and before J. We will implement all the shared code inside a class module. This class will be shared between all the three projects. Let's start with I'll add a new class, standard class. And now we will move all the code that we expect to share to the new class. I don't want the FX because it should be cross-platform. We will need to make a few changes. We also want to load the layout in the class, so the parent will be passed to the initialize method and the layout will be loaded. Let's change it to change its name and note that the type is B4X view, the cross-platform type. Combo box is a type specific to B4J, so it will not work. In the previous tutorial I said that there is no control in B4I that is similar to B4J combo box or B4A spinner. So I went ahead and created a class named B4X combo box. It provides a single API for B4J combo box, B4A spinner, and in B4I it is made of a button and an action sheet. Let's search. I'm searching B4X. You can also add it to your favorite browser, like this. Add B4X search engine. And the first result is, it looks like a B4A library, but you can see from the B4X prefix that it is relevant to all platforms except of B4R. It looks like this, and I'll download the code module. It is a class, and I'm adding the module to our project. I'll copy it to the project folder. It is implemented as a custom view, so it should be added with the designer. Removing the two combo boxes, custom view. If the custom view is not listed after you've added a custom view module or library, you should go back to the code editor and return to the visual designer. This will force it to refresh. As this is a custom view, it appears as a panel with a label in the visual designer. There are no custom properties in this case. If there were, we would have seen more options over here. Let's remove the border. And that's it for now. will set the event name to the same event, so we will have a single sub for both views. Okay. There are some changes in the API of the B4X combo box. First, I'm changing the map that maps between the units names and the units values. I've pressed on F7. It's find all references. This is a very, very useful tool. And one of its features is that it allows us to change the variable's name. And I will add as list, and we will fill it over here instead of filling the map and then building the list from the map. By adding the items directly to the list, the code is simpler, and in B4I maps do not retain the items order. So if we want the order to be the same as in the text file, then we need to do it over here. Like this. And we will set the items we need to change it to get item, and now back to the main module. Let's add, there is a warning here about the XUI variable not being used or not being assigned any value. I will ignore it by adding the ignore comment. It is always useful to have this global variable when working with the XUI library. Now we want to create an instance of this class, and we will pass root pane. Let's try it. Okay, so we are ready for the next step. Let's implement it in B4A now. This is a new B4A project, and we'll start by copying the resources from the B4J project and the two modules. In this case, we want to create a link to the existing modules. Instead of copying them, this will allow us to make changes in one project, and they will be updated automatically to the other projects. You can see that this is a shared module based on the path. That is, it only appears in shared modules. Let's add the XUI library. There is a warning about the missing layout. We need to create the layout again with the visual designer. There is a tool in the forum named bal to bill, which converts B4A layouts to B4I. It doesn't support converting layouts from B4J. I guess that at some point we will have a tool that better converts layouts. It will be easier if we open the B4J layout like this. So we have a text field, I will give them the exact same names. We have a custom view. We will set the background to transparent like this, to the default background. The convert button. I will take the icon from here, copy it, typeface, font awesome, like this. And a label for the result. Let's start with this. It should be unit. Now we need to like this to initialize it, and that's it. I'll also change the package name. We need to change the input type to limit it to numbers. And I forgot to replace the event name of the two combo boxes, so it didn't change automatically. Okay, there are a few things that we need to fix. Back. back to the layout. And we wanted to limit it to numbers, like input type. Note that we can change the Visual Designer theme. In this case, the default theme for the specific device I'm using is this theme. It's material light with a dark action bar. Let's try it again. Looks correct. Let's see what happens when I'm changing the orientation. The value is lost. In many cases, it makes sense to just lock the orientation to a single orientation instead of dealing with the state. Last thing to do is to lock it to portrait orientation, like this. And that's it. We will now switch to the B4i project. This is a new B4i project. I will again start with adding the resources. And we also want to add the data file. I'll create the layout. Let's save it. No warnings, so we can try it. This time we are loading it to the root panel like this. I'll also change the package name and we can try it. Again, I forgot to set the input type. I'll soon fix it. There is an issue here with the text changed event. In before I, the text changed event is raised before the value is actually set. The best way to fix it is by passing the new parameter, the new text. Like this. And now we need to make a few changes. So we're always calling it with text input text, except in the text changed event. Let's try it. And it fails because I haven't updated it over here. Let's try it again. Now it looks better. We just need to fix the input type. Keyboard type, number pad. Let's try it again. Note that the number pad in before I in iOS doesn't have a done button. The user cannot close the keyboard right now. We can let the user hide the keyboard by clicking on the convert button by calling the text field resign focus method. So we need to first cast text input from before XView to text field. And we need to call resign focus. Let's try it. As you can see, the keyboard is closed when I'm clicking on the button. However, if we go back to before J or before A, there is an error now because this is a method specific to before I, and in before A there is no such type, so the error is over here. The way to solve it is very simple. Like this. So this code will be excluded on all platforms except of before I. The code will be gray over here and it will be color over here. That's it for our very first cross-platform example.